It's lights out and away we go.
Hello and welcome back to Away We Go podcast, a Formula One podcast that goes beyond the track limits to talk about travel and lifestyle surrounding the sport. My name's Dianne Bortoletto and today I'm in Melbourne, and joining me from the other side of the world, also not at home this week, is the lovely Ciara Gillan from Formula Live Polls. Hi Ciara, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, I am joining you from Budapest. I was at the track.
Amazing. So you got to go to the race, which we've just had at Hungaroring in Budapest, 70 laps, 4.38 kilometres per lap, 14 corners, and the corners are all newly named as well after Formula One drivers. Just tell us what was your experience like with, I think there were 310,000 people at the track over the weekend.
Oh my God.
Yeah, tell us what the experience was like in Hungary.
Oh my God, that makes sense. Yeah, so it was amazing. I mean, it really was amazing. It is an amazing track. It is an amazing experience. We were between turns 11 and 12. So, two kind of corners. It was great. But it's a very dusty experience. I have to say that Hungaroring do not take care of their lands from a sustainability point of view. I would be commenting to them about that. But yeah, you could tell that there was 200,000 people over that weekend because the numbers really increased by Sunday. It was very, very intense. Very, very intense. But it was great. It was a great experience. I'll talk about the negatives later, but we'll keep it on the great. It was a great experience.
The race itself, I mean, I think we both would have got very, very excited when the race started, when Lando Norris started on pole, and in second place we had Charles Leclerc, and in third place on the grid was Oscar Piastri after Lewis Hamilton got bumped down for
Impeding Piastri.
And then there was another penalty during qualifying, a grid penalty for
Antonelli.
That's right, thank you.
For not lifting sufficiently during yellow flag.
Oh, yeah. So that elevated Oscar Piastri to third on the grid. By turn 3, he was in the lead, which was so exciting to see. Just fantastic. He got a great start. Lando got a good start too, but Oscar was just really aggressive with his speed and with the brakes, putting a lot of pressure on Lando. Lando went wide on turn 2 and Oscar took him on turn 3, and it was, yeah. So we had, Oscar in the lead for, I don't know, not quite half the race.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was Oscar of old. It was so great to see. It was like, oh my God, he's there. He's got the speed. He's aggressive, but he keeps it clean. Oh, I was so excited. I was having, it really made the start of the race. It was amazing, But yeah, then McLaren happened. Yeah.
Oh, and McLaren happened. Again, McLaren stuffing up our boys' chance every single time. Honestly, that I was cursing the team. Oh, look, let's just talk about what happened first. So McLaren happened. So they pitted Oscar and put him out in traffic, which was just the worst thing they could have done. And he came up to Carlos Sainz, who was a back marker at the time. Carlos had spun and was getting back onto the track, right? And then got in the way of Oscar and they ended up having a little touch. And that really just slowed Oscar down. So McLaren pitted Oscar, put him out in traffic. Then they pitted Lando and put him in clean air, And Lando had been in second place for a lot of that. And Lando even said in the post-race interviews that he was trying to put pressure on Oscar, trying to force him to make a mistake, which, I feel like that teammates shouldn't say that about each other. But anyway, Lando did. He was very candid and open about that. Yeah, and I just felt like the McLaren strategy just did not play in Oscar's favour.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm at the track and, I'm hearing bits and bobs of what's going on. But at one point I hear that were communicated to us that Lando has said, I'm faster and faster, is there anything we can do here, and I'm assuming they didn't want to get them to swap positions, which I 100% agree they shouldn't have done. But then they pitted Oscar. And I'm just like, why? If you are faster, we talked about this before, if you are faster, pass me on track. pass me on track, you know, and you're right, like, because Lando was pitted into clean air. Lando had loads of space. He went, then suddenly was going massively. I think he was ahead of Antonelli because Antonelli hadn't pitted. And he was like maybe 7 seconds. He was like, you know, there was loads. But Oscar wasn't even given the chance. And it was like, was Oscar actually slower than Lando, or was it just where they were and how they were pitted? So yeah, so for me, the issue started before, but we started with that strategy move on Oscar's side of the team. Because I'll just say something really quickly, because Charles was giving out about Lewis, okay, and Charles was saying, "Oh, look, I'm quicker here. Is there anything we can do with strategy?" Okay, and they pitted Lewis, and Lewis actually ended up that Charles wasn't faster than Lewis. He didn't gain any ground, and Lewis got the position back, and so that's fine. If that was what the strategy was, that's fine. But Lewis didn't come out into massive traffic. He didn't, you know, it does. I feel like Oscar, there's not the same attention given to Oscar when they're doing stuff with him, and it does feel really. And I know it's, I want to be like fair to McLaren. I want to believe that they don't have this intention, but it really does feel like they're there going, oh, you know, Lando got pole, so therefore we should try and make sure that Lando wins this race. And I just
Not just that, I
can't.
honestly feel like maybe those rumours about Oscar being unhappy at McLaren, maybe those rumours about Oscar wanting to leave McLaren at the end of this year, maybe they're not rumours. And as a result, the team is favouring Lando. All conjecture, all speculation, all rumours, I will say that, but I agree with you in that it has always felt that the team has favoured Lando. And in some ways, I can kind of see why. Okay, they've invested a lot of money in Lando last year. They wanted him to win the World Championship, you know. And look, Lando did have some great results. I'm not saying that it was given to him on a silver platter and that they jeopardised Oscar, but the favourable decisions often fell Lando's way last year.
Yeah.
And it feels like the same is happening this year. And I'm wondering why. Like, Oscar was livid on the radio, and you don't often hear him like that. He said to his race engineer, "I can't even talk to you right now." You know, so he was clearly worked up. But then, look, bless our boy for being so cool, calm and collected. But then after the post-race interviews, when he was asked about that, he was already over it, you know, and he just delivered the same line that Andrea Stella had delivered. You know, we had to beat Lewis Hamilton, which is why we pitted Oscar when we pitted Oscar. So that was the strategy. There was no other reason for it. And Oscar said the same thing. Look, I understand it. Look, in the end, Oscar ended up with a gearbox failure and a DNF. So really, would that have happened anyway? I don't know. But still, it's just the whole treatment of Oscar Piastri. I'm biased. I'm Australian. I'm owning it before anyone comes at me. But the whole treatment of Oscar at McLaren has never seemed to be on par and equal with Lando, in my opinion, which I'm allowed to.
No,
So thanks very much.
Look, I agree. I do. Look, I do get that, you know, there's a passion and there's a bias there, obviously, because you're Australian. But I do feel that there's been a lot of moments at McLaren where they've done things that are just very questionable. And like, so this was actually, let's just get this right. This was actually the second pit stop, because if they pitted Piastri first, my God, they nearly pitted him into Bottas's dying car in the pit lane. I was like, oh my God,
yes.
please don't, right? I thought, oh my God, but
Yeah.
thank God they saw it and they didn't pit him. But so this was the second pit stop, and the first one went well, and you know, Lando came behind, and Lando, like, Lando was on his ass the whole time. Like, there was no denying that. There was, you know, he was there. But I felt that Oscar was holding his own. He really was holding his own. And they were showing us the comparison of the different laps. And one lap, Lando was much faster. Next lap, Oscar was faster. And, you know, they're kind of tit-tatting a couple of laps each. So, yeah, you know, Norris was fast and Norris was there. But if Piastri had been given more time and in that fresh air, what would have happened? You know what I mean? I just feel like this pitting him, they pitted him on lap 31 or something. It was a 70 track lap track. Like, it just felt way too soon. And it really felt like they did it to give Lando more of a chance. And it frustrated me. Now, maybe the data told us something different and we weren't watching the data. I don't know. But I was raging.
I'm with
I was
you.
raging.
I was raging as well. Anyway, the
Raging.
race result. So Lando Norris took he took the top step. He took the win. The other thing I will say that was highly annoying is, let's go, our friends at Sky Sports. When Lando Norris had said, I'm faster than Oscar, I've got more speed. Yeah, as he said on the team radio. And then the commentary team backed that up once, twice, 3, 4 times on, when Lando was in the lead of the race. It was like, oh, please give it a rest, for God's sake. Anyway, so Lando, yes, he took the top step. And look, to be fair, he did have great speed. He did drive well. He won the race, and behind him was Max Verstappen, Red Bull Racing. Kimi Antonelli finished third. Oh, we've got to talk about him. He looked absolutely wrecked after the race. Charles Leclerc in Ferrari in fourth. Lewis Hamilton fifth in Ferrari. Isaac Hadjar finished sixth in the other Red Bull. George Russell, awful weekend for him again, finished in seventh. Liam Lawson, Racing Bulls, in eighth. Nico Hulkenberg in ninth in the Audi. What a great result for Nico. That's awesome. And Arvid Lindblad in Racing Bulls in 10th. That's the top 10. And then I'll just give an honourable mention to my cousin, Gabriel Bortoletto, with 1 T, not 2, in the other Audi, who finished in 11th. We had a couple of DNFs. Oscar, of course, that we just said, with his gearbox failure, and both Cadillacs. Oh, God, what a woeful season that they're having. Oh, so much promise from the Cadillac team, and another double DNF. Brakes on fire, Sergio Perez, and I don't know what happened to Valtteri Bottas, but he limped into the pits, some sort of engine failure.
Let's start with Max. I mean, you got to give Max his props, right? I think he won Driver of the Day.
Yeah.
I think he definitely did on Formula Live Pulse. He did. I didn't think he was going to be anywhere this weekend, and he did a pretty good stint on those softs, right? Like he went on them quite early. Like, I'm going to say lap 40 or something, but you know what I mean, longer than he should have been on softs, and he did quite well. Props to him getting second. No, that overtake on Lewis. That's what everybody's talking about. So Lewis took him on track first.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then Max comes back and takes him, and we were all cheering. Like, obviously I'm cheering for Lewis, but that was very special. It was very well done. It was, pure Max. It was great.
Yeah, they actually touched tyres, didn't they? It was just so lucky that neither of them spun out and there was no damage sustained to either car. But you couldn't get any closer. Like, their tyres brushed, and it was a spectacular move. Yeah, really, very, very exciting racing to watch. Yeah. So 100% dues to Max. He had a great race, and was complaining about that Red Bull car all weekend. Again, he's just so unhappy with that car, but he just drove the pants off it. Well done to Max. And then Kimi Antonelli in third. Like,
I have to say, I didn't really follow Kimi, so you're going to have to tell me, because it's harder at the track to kind of follow everybody and know everything that's going on. So Kimi seemed like he was nowhere, and then he was passing Lewis after they pitted, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But yeah, so tell me what Kimi, because how did Kimi end up on the podium? I don't understand it.
Oh, look, I mean, he was quick. He had a lot of speed. So Kimi, he started, in seventh on the grid. He just had a really great race. He was overtaking. He had good speed. No kind of incidents. Yeah. But when the race finished, he just looked depleted, just wrecked, tired, sweaty, tired. I know it was hot in Budapest. You said on qualifying it was 30 degrees, which we all know in Europe is sweltering hot. It's not Australian 30 degrees, which feels much different. What was race day like? Was that just as hot?
Oh, race day was hotter. So actually it ended up actually only being 27 degrees on quali, but then race day, when there's no breeze, it was really intense because there was no cloud cover either. So race day was crazy. Yeah, it was really hot. It was 30, 31 degrees. And it was like a dust bowl.
And Kimi, his second stop was really late, right? It was just before the virtual safety car towards the end.
Yeah, because Hamilton stopped just after him, for Hamilton's third stop. So Antonelli did too. Yeah.
Okay. So Antonelli's second pit stop was really late. So he was able to gain position and hold position, I suppose, which really helped his race strategy.
Next is Leclerc. So both Ferraris started on softs, okay, which So when I saw that, I was like, okay, aggressive. Okay, they had some speed over the weekend. Maybe this is translating. I saw them using mediums in Q1 in quali, so I was like, okay, they must be trying to keep a soft. They either used too many softs in free practice, or they wanted to keep one for the race. Then they both of them turn up with their softs. Look, I'm not an expert on tires at all, obviously, but Leclerc's tires were 3 laps old, maybe 4 laps old, something like that. They were fresh, okay? Lewis's were. Leclerc lost 3 places in that start. They lost 3 places. I was like, I don't understand. Maybe it wasn't to do with his tires. Maybe it was to do with energy management or something like that with his car. But like, it was such a risky strategy, and it did not work for them. And it was like, you're looking at them Friday, and he was topping the tables, both of them. You're looking at Lewis, he nearly got pole. Like, where did that speed go? What happened? I was so angry for them. I really was. And then, I mean, Leclerc's result, 4th, is not the worst, but they should have been, I had them down to win. They should have been up there on the podium.
Same. I'd picked Ferrari 1, 2 to win in different orders on my 2 accounts on Predict the Podium game, because I was so sure that Ferrari were going to do well. It was such a shame, especially after the start of the season with the Ferrari slingshot starts that we grew accustomed to seeing. They were so fast. I agree. It was hugely disappointing, but not as disappointing as George Russell's start. So anti-stall kicked in with his car, and he started on the grid. I think he was qualified in 7th or 8th, and then ended up in 22nd position by lap 1. It was just, he had a mare of a race again. He's really, George Russell is just, I think he's just resigned himself to the fact that this season for him is, the championship contention for him is just not going to happen this season.
With Antonelli still getting points and getting 15 points this weekend, like it's hard to see it happening for George when Antonelli is still managing to be consistent. I have to say, with the Ferrari strategy and the craziness sometimes of McLaren, George could still get up there, but I think against Antonelli, no. I think unfortunately Antonelli is just too consistent, but Ferrari deciding to pit both of the guys after with that VC, with Piastri's VC, Hamilton was 2nd, was going for a podium. Hamilton is going for points. We've talked about this before, like, why pit him? Why pit him? There was 15 laps
because
to go.
It was really late, right, as well. Yeah, that's right. There was only 15 laps or something to go, like you said. And even Hamilton said in his post-race interview, regret that pit stop. My tyres were fine. I didn't need to pit. Why would they have done that? It's way more important for him to hold position. Way more important with 15 laps to go than, if his tyres were shredded, okay, but they weren't. Yeah.
He said the call came too late. It was way too close to the pit stop, and he had to trust the team that they were making the right decision. But it's like, I don't get this. Ferrari start on softs. Didn't gain any ground. The whole point of starting on softs is that you get a better start and you gain ground. They lost ground. Leclerc lost ground. Hamilton did okay, but, didn't gain it. Then they go on to hards. Neither of them are lighting up. Okay, so Hamilton, first stint's okay, but Hamilton isn't getting anywhere. Leclerc is complaining he's faster. So they pit Hamilton. He goes on to another set of hards. Why be on mediums this whole weekend doing your qualies in mediums if you're not going to go on mediums at all? So then Hamilton goes on a second pit of hards. Now, in fairness to Hamilton, he actually did quite well in his second stint after the second pit stop or whatever, third stint. Leclerc is kind of nowhere, whatever, not able to catch Max. And then they're like, oh, a VC, let's pit them for another softs, which we've proved hasn't done well on softs. Like, if you feel that they need fresh rubber, put them on mediums, put them on anything else. I just don't get it.
We know that teams have to use 2 different compounds of tyres each race, which they had already done. And we know that they've got limited tyres for each race weekend. But you're so right. It was just a terrible strategic call from Ferrari. And you're right, the call for Lewis to come into the pits was so late that he couldn't challenge it. And, with a virtual safety car, you you can't always go, oh, well, I'll come in next lap, like with a real safety car, because a real safety car goes around usually 4 or 5 laps, maybe more. Virtual safety car could just be half a lap and then they're gone. So if you're going to take the pit stop advantage under a virtual safety car, you can't wait. Oh, yes, it was so frustrating.
It was so frustrating.
Oh, dear.
And I get
Yeah.
it. Like, you know, there's been times where Ferrari hasn't pitted and everyone's like, well, why didn't you pit, you know? So basically then what happened was, just for anybody who doesn't remember or has blocked it out or didn't see the race, Verstappen jumped Hamilton. So when Hamilton pit, Verstappen went up to second. And then Antonelli took Hamilton on track. So like his tires were that bad that Antonelli, who'd only pitted a little bit earlier, but with hards, took him on track. And then apparently, sorry. How did we forget this? To add the pièce de la résistance, Hamilton got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Like,
by 0.1 kilometres per hour, and even the Sky Sports commentary team were questioning that. And they went back on the Sky Pad that they have after the race, where they sort of do frame by frame and analyse what's happened. And you can hear Hamilton hitting the button, like hitting the accelerator on the line. So, it must have been a smidgen of a fraction. I know rules are rules. Like if you bend the rules for that, then someone else is going to say, hey, but it's only 0.15 or 0.18 of a kilometre far. It's such bad luck. So that was a 5-second penalty for Lewis Hamilton for that speeding infringement on his last pit stop of the race, which is a pit stop that shouldn't have even happened, really.
But can I just ask though, like, so they must get some sort of signal, right? That the pit stop, that he was speeding. I'm sure there must be some sort of electrical thing that says, but how could they not look at it and go and use discretionary kind of, I was going to say advice, but just, you know, use their discretion there to say, okay, it's 0.1 kilometers. Like, what other teams are going to go back and say, oh, I want to check, was Hamilton speeding in the pit lane? Like, is it, does everybody get this alert? Like, why can't they say it was 0.1 kilometers, therefore it's not enough to really classify it as speeding, we let this go? I don't understand. And it adds to the theory that Hamilton is targeted constantly. I don't like the theory, but I see it all the time, and you really do wonder. It's like, I don't understand how this can be a speeding penalty. It's not speeding.
I mean, like, I never really believed that, I guess, up until recently, that Hamilton has been the target of things. But I just read the comments on our social media page and I'm like, oh my God, there's obviously a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans out there, us included. How can you not respect the GOAT? How can you not respect him even if you don't like him? But there's haters, which I'm so surprised at, and I just never, and those haters, there's a lot of underlying, I'm just going to call it racism.
100%.
In this day and age, there is no place for it, absolutely no place for it, and it will not be tolerated on any of our accounts.
Yeah, take your racist comments elsewhere. We do not want it. We do not want them.
That's right. Not interested.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's no place for it.
Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, Ciara. So you're reporting from Budapest at the moment. So you've been to the race. So just tell us, what was the experience like, the track experience? How far away are you from the track? Transport, like getting there, inside the track? Yeah, just tell us everything.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the great things about Budapest and Hungaroring is the Hungaroring is only 30 minutes from the city. So there is public transport you can get, which is great. We were a little bit far from the public transport, just where we were staying, so it didn't really make sense for us. It would have been about 2 hours. But we ended up finding the shuttle that the Hungaroring organises. I think it is then. And so we were only 30 minutes from that. And then on the shuttle, you're literally kind of in a private lane, basically going to the motorway. And it's only 20 to 30 minutes. So that was great, really affordable. I think about like €38 return. So going to the track on the 3 days, because we got here, with Friday, Saturday, Sunday, was pretty good, pretty, quick, wasn't too much of a wait. So we were really delighted with that experience. However, leaving was another experience. And I know it's kind of always the issue with tracks and everything else, but it was pretty intense. The first day was actually fine, but the second day, from getting out of our seats, which were kind of halfway through around the track, because as I said, turn 11 and between turn 11 and 12, and then getting on a bus, it took us 2.5 hours. So we were pushing through queues to get out. It took us an hour to get out of the track, and then we were waiting for an hour and a half. Now you got to remember, this is also in massive sun, and everything is very dusty. So the two things, it's okay. So that was a bit of an ordeal, and it was a bit stressful. It was quite stressful. Then the track itself is great. Like, the track itself is quite nice. And there's lots of kind of fan stuff going on. So they had a big fan zone where like Ariana Bravo was talking with all the drivers, and that was all great. And then they had like, loads of stores. And then they had like a car that you could get in, and it would spin you around to get, the G-force. And there was a couple of other things like that, which were cool. Lots of different toilets. There was free water. So these are all the positive things. The negatives were, and it's kind of, to be honest, were a little bit too much for me, was the track was really, the whole environment was really dusty. It's just really arid, the land. I don't know why, but it's, like, it just needs water. It needs massive water. It needs proper growth and care. So there was like massive dust bowls because it was so windy. Your clothes were filthy. Everything was filthy. There was no protection from the sun. So there were a couple of places that you could go to kind of hide out, but it was very limited for seating. And every time you went into an area of your grandstand, if you were in the grandstand, you had your ticket checked, which is fine. But every time you left, you had your ticket checked, which made no sense. So you were constantly queuing in and out of the grandstands. And it was like, why? I honestly couldn't fathom the reasoning behind it. But again, it just added to things and just made it extra stressful. So yeah. So I would recommend Hungaro, but be prepared.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Actually getting checked on your way out. It's like, I'm leaving. Like, why do you need to see my ticket? Like, I'm going anyway. Yeah, I would have been annoyed at that. But what about Budapest itself? I know you've spent 3 long days at the track, and it's now early Monday morning, your time there. Have you had a chance to look around the city at all, eat and drink anywhere? Tell us about Budapest itself.
Yeah.
I haven't been there since, it's over 25 years. It's a long time, but I remember loving the city and wanting to go back. I just haven't made it back yet. But yeah, tell us your impressions.
I'm actually the same. I came here in my 20s, and I can't remember anything from it. But I do remember loving it. And it is a beautiful, beautiful city. There's a lot of architecture. There's a lot of history. I think Hungary is part of the Ottoman Empire. So there's, this big, huge square with there's a whole load of like statues and everything. It's really fabulous. It's very clean, the city, very modern. All the buildings are really taken care of. The city is, so it's called Budapest. It's the river Danube splits the city between Buda and Pest, which is really deadly and really just interesting, And yeah, we found like a couple of places where we've eaten some really great, I think we did great Lebanese food a few nights ago. We've eaten some really lovely Italian places. And there's like today we're going to go to Time Out Market, where it's like a big food hall. As you can tell, we like our food. But like, there's things to do like that we just didn't get a chance to do. Like there's baths that are really great in Budapest. But if you're into like walking or cycling, definitely rent a bike and cycle around the city because there's so much to see. It's full of history. And it's just, as I said, beautifully kept. So it makes it more picturesque.
Yeah, I remember it being very, I want to say medieval architecture, but I'm not sure if that's the right era. I remember the Danube and some beautiful bridges over the river. I also remember the bathhouses. I went to a couple of different ones. I went to one where it was mixed sexes, male and female, and they had indoor bath, like we're talking Roman baths. So they're inside these, you've got great big pillars and inside the, high ceilings, indoor pools, like, sort of not plunge pool, or maybe plunge pools, and the water was heated, and you also had big outdoor pools as well. And at those mixed bathhouses, you wore swimming costumes, but at the female-only bathhouse that I also went to, that was no bathing costume. I was in my 20s and in reasonable shape, and I was confronted by that. It's just but there are women, all shapes and sizes, sitting around in the bath, totally starkers, having a conversation with each other. And it was, great to see. They're so comfortable in their own skin. But at the time, I remember feeling very out of my comfort zone. I was brave and proud of the fact that I gave it a go and that I was brave, and that I just didn't chicken out because that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But yes, I also really remember loving the city. Great beer, great like goulashy stews. I remember eating like Krensky type sausages there as well. Yeah, but I remember the beer being so cheap at the time. It was like 20 pence a pint or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I have to say I haven't found Budapest cheap. I think it's definitely changed. I don't think it's cheap anymore. I think you're right. I think when I came here 20 years ago as well, it was definitely a lot cheaper. But I mean, God, my advice to you is bring food to the track. You can't bring a huge amount, but just, apparently you can bring the equivalent of 3 sandwiches. But no, but like do bring food to the track. First day we made the mistake of not, and we spent like €20 each on a sandwich, which was just crazy.
Oof, that's about $32.
Yeah, right. So it's way we were flabbergasted, But there's really good food here, definitely. I haven't been as adventurous to try the Hungarian food, I have to admit. I'm not a big goulash fan. But no, I think if you like your meat, there's some good stuff here. Yeah, it's definitely worth visiting. It's really beautiful
Yeah, I do remember it being a really beautiful city.
and great transport system.
Oh, fantastic. Now, one thing that we should talk about very quickly is Nico Hulkenberg finishing 9th. Nico Hulkenberg. Did you say it was his first points of the season?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was his first points of the season. So big congrats to Nico. Audi are doing great, they really are. So yeah, big congrats.
Yeah, well
Delighted
done.
for
Well
him.
done, Audi. Well done, Nico Hulkenberg. And look, even though we've just been bagging McLaren out, this episode, because we're just both frustrated with McLaren, as I expect a lot of fans out there, especially Australian and Oscar Piastri fans out there would be. We do have to give credit to Lando. He is the reigning world champion. He did win his first race of the season. So well done to Lando. Whether he had a helping
Yeah.
hand from the team or not, he still won the race and took the top step. So credit to him. And he did have
Yeah.
pace. Like the McLaren had good pace all weekend. So yeah.
Yeah, and they know that track. I mean, I had it down that Piastri was going to be on the podium because I knew a McLaren was going to be there. And Norris won last year, Oscar won the year before, so the track suits them. But I just didn't have it in my thing that it was going to be Norris. I didn't want it to be Norris, but it was. Congratulations, Norris. I'm going to stop changing it. Congratulations. Can I just say one thing before
Of
we
course.
go, because it was kind of a good thing, the big thing we probably should touch on, the blue flags thing. So there was a lot of kind of things going on with the back markers and people being in each other's ways, but just because science is getting a lot of heat online, and in a way I think he kind of deserves it, but in another way there was a lot of technical issues that people, I don't know if are talking about. So the blue flag by the marshals weren't working, and so the drivers needed to be aware of what was going on track, so with them waving the blue flags, and then also their own team. And also the GPS wasn't working yesterday. So Formula One was having a technical nightmare. And that resulted in the awful situation between Sainz. I think Alonso was there as well, but it was Sainz and Piastri. And then also the two boys from VCARB were fighting each other, and Max was in the background going mad, like, get out of my way. And apparently Antonelli was also having issues with back markers.
Yeah.
So there was a lot going on. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Should the drivers be more aware?
Oh, look, should the drivers be more aware, or should Formula One have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D for every single situation and scenario as far as technicalities go for running a race that costs gazillion dollars to run, that has a billion sponsors all involved paying money for, it's just, I feel like I'm a bit unforgiving when it comes to Formula One, because I feel like they've got the money, the resources, the technical know-how. All the best people in the world work for Formula One. This should not happen. This is not the first time that they've had technical difficulties this season. Formula One, please, just, is it Formula One or is it FIA that's responsible for blue flags? I'm not sure. Whoever, get your systems in check. It's not good enough. It cost Oscar Piastri a race win, potentially. We don't, Anyway, last bit of news is Malaysia has been announced. The Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang is going to take place between the 2nd and 4th of October. So that's after Azerbaijan and before Singapore. So for those in the Southern Hemisphere, you could do back-to-back races with Malaysia, and although Singapore sold out, so unless you've got tickets to Singapore already, you'll be buying a hospitality package or a package of some sort. I don't think there's any grandstand seats left. I don't know when tickets go on sale. That hasn't been announced. The race in Malaysia just got confirmed yesterday, just hours before the main event in Budapest. So yeah, very exciting. And how are you spending your last day in Budapest today, Ciara?
I'm going to go explore the city centre and see more of the sights and maybe get some Hungarian food.
Sounds like a great way to spend a day. Well, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. It's all we've got time for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. You can follow Away We Go podcast on all the social media platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. You can drop us a line, hello@awaywegopodcast.com. If you agree or disagree with what we say, drop us a comment. We would love to hear from you. We read all the comments, of course. We're on a break now. We've got 4 weeks off racing, 4 weeks of no racing. I'm going to have a break as well for a couple of weeks, but I will be back with some guest episodes. And then we've got Netherlands, first cab off the rank when we get back from the break. So enjoy your summer break, everybody. Enjoy Australians getting some sleep on weekends and not having to get up so early to watch the race or stay up really late. Until next time, and until lights out.
It's lights out and away we go.
Away We Go podcast is produced by Dianne Bortoletto.